Hello everyone. Hi, my name is Manish Nihalani. I am your mathematics mentor. So, welcome to Ask IITians. Today we will be talking about statistics. Yes. So today we will be starting with a new chapter, that is statistics of grade 10. So I hope you all are excited because we are going to see some fantastic things in this chapter, as we have already studied this chapter in our grade 9, right? So we are going to extend our knowledge to grade 10, and we would be learning some more and more new concepts in this chapter, right? So without investing more time, let's quickly begin. What is statistics and what are its applications, right? So I hope you all can see the screen. Now the first very most important thing is that this chapter this chapter comes in boards for 8 marks, right guys? 8 marks is very important. I mean, obviously, knowledge is definitely more crucial than that, but we know, like, for examination point of view, even marks are of utmost importance. So this chapter, as I have been saying, is for 8 marks in your board examination, so which makes this chapter very very important. Like, and also, like, a graph question is also observed every year from this chapter. So graphs are like the favorite topics of the students, and easy to attempt, easy to score questions like graph things. So this is what uh, this chapter is about, and it's a very simple chapter, so no need to worry in this. So in the first class, that is today, we would be talking about these topics related to data. What is data? How are we related to the data, and how is data being classified into different types? So we would be talking about grouped data and ungrouped data, and both of them. So let's quickly talk about data first. Now, what is data? Like, we have been knowing, why do we need to study data? And see, there are different types of data. Like, one is obviously, which we have, is the very important data is your internet, which we call sometimes as data, right? The internet is your data. The other type of data has the technical meaning of the data is that you have lots of entries, lots of observations, lots of collection of things, right? Or lots of information, right? These are two different definitions, or you can say vocabulary meaning of the word data, right? Now both these data are very very important in today's life. How they are important, let's try to understand first. First of all, you all will agree with me, I'm sure everyone will agree here with me. Like, you all can see me, you all can hear me, you all can see the screen because of the internet, राइट? अगर ये डेटा ही नहीं होता, तो मतलब फिर तो यार, मतलब कुछ पॉसिबल ही नहीं होता, बिकॉज विदाउट डेटा वी डोंट सी कि एनीथिंग एल्स इज पॉसिबल टुडे. Without internet, without that data. And you all know, like, in India specifically, there is the largest service provider, internet service provider is Geo, right? Geo, by Reliance. So if you all know that this Geo symbol, now there is something hidden in this symbol, but before that I just want to ask you, have you all ever heard of this statement, that is, data is the new oil? Data is the new oil, right? Because what used to happen earlier, like, as some students must be from the Gulf countries or UAE, oil was a very expensive commodity, right? I mean, because oil was everything. Till today, everything is running on oils. Like, people are trying to find its substitution, but if you talk about machines, vehicles, automobiles, or whatever, it is just working on one form of the oil or the other. Crude oil or petroleum oil, coal. There are various types of oils which are being needed. Even to eat food, you need oil, right? To apply for massages, spas, everywhere you need oil. So oil was at a phase, during a phase of the 20th century, oil was a very important commodity, and during that phase the Gulf countries became rich because everyone needed oil and everyone was ready to pay immense amount of money to them, right? Now, how is data the new oil? So are you all understanding that data is the new oil, which means data is so important now that we are saying it is the new oil, which means now everyone is able to shell out any immense amount of money for this data. Now that data is your, first of all, either the internet or the information. So even for information, people are shelling out money now, right? We'll come to that, but before, first let's talk about internet. Why is internet so important? We know that we can't function without internet these days. Every smartphone app, every website, or anything whichever is digitally acclaimed needs internet, right? And as I was saying, this geo, the symbol of geo, if you all will look at it, it does not have the normal j, capital J over the underline. It is the symbol. This is the J without the underline above it, right? And because this, if you read it in a reverse order, it represents oil, right? If you read it in reverse order, it represents oil, because they also know like how important data is. So data is a new oil. That is what it symbolizes, right? This geo symbolizes. So now let's talk about the other data, that is lots of information. Now how is that important? Because if you all must have observed, like whenever you surf about on YouTube or any other application, you all find your most annoying friend, that is advertisements, right? Most of the times we hate these advertisements, we just want to skip it to the video, but every time we keep on finding advertisements, right? So these advertisements are for monetary purposes, right? So some people, some companies do buy those plays for of the advertisements just to get the data from you. So for example, now you have a skip ad button, right? Let's say you want to skip the advertisement to the video. So what happens when you even click on the skip ad button? The data of your computer, that is your email ID and your other name, and the basic data is being shared with by the company whose advertisement this is. This is now like being observed, and this is all obviously in the terms and conditions of the YouTube privacy policy. So these things are so important now, because once they know like you are the person who let's say watch this entire ad, you are in this age group, you are a male, you are a female, and you are trying to watch that video, which means that is your interest level. So all these information is being then again used to track you, and then you are being called, you are receiving calls from those customer cares that okay, we observed that you are seeing this, this is you registered on here and all, and then you get calls and scam calls, fraud calls, and all of that. So it's all a network, information network, which is being worked upon, which is being carried upon, right? Now some of you all say like, okay, even if I click a skip ad button, so what I'll do that. So when I have a dialogue, small dialogue on the advertisement, there is a cross button on it, so I तो usually cross कर देता हूँ मैं, so that उससे मतलब मुझे problem ही ना हो. Now sorry to tell you all this, that even on when you click on the cross button, your data is being shared, your data is being leaked, just the basic data. Okay, so these things is basically correlated. So because everyone is fighting for information these days, right? They want to know like what kind of product you are into, what kind of uh, things you like, what kind of services you prefer getting over the other. So everyone is needing information, right? So that is why data is very much important, and hence to study this chapter is also equally important. Right? So let's understand definitions of data now. So we have understood that how data is related to us in our day-to-day life. Let's now understand theoretically how do we define that, right? So in stats, data is are the individual pieces of factual information. Data is the information, and it is used for the purpose of analysis process. So once your data is being shared with the companies, they analyze, okay, this person, this group of person in this area, in this locality, are trying to use this product or this service, so we can pitch them for our marketing processes. So after analyzing, then it is being reached. So the data can be qualitative or quantitative in that case. So qualitative means it just describes information, it is just a descriptive information. So like for example, when you are clicking when you're, let's say, watching a video, it's just an informatory video, so you would say your data would be like, okay, this person is watching xyz video. This is just a descriptive information, this is just a qualitative information, qualitative data, whereas there is quantitative data. Now, what do we mean by quantitative data? This is numerical information in numbers. For example, in this locality, in a particular region, uh, the age group of the persons living around is in the range of 16 to 35. So now then we will classify this, so we can consider 16 to 18 groups. How many people are there in the age group 16 to 18, how many people are there in the age group 18 to 20, and so on. So this keeps going on and on, right? This keeps going on and on. So this quantitative data is basically information in numbers. So it can be also, now here I said just in the age group of 16 to 35. Someone could also, if the product is, let's say, a sport drink, so they would also try to get your BMI index, that is body mass index. So they would have their uh, analysis on the age group. Instead of age group, they can have their BMI data in the group, and they will observe that, okay, in this locality this is the BMI. So if it's particularly low, then we can pitch our product and in this way and do these things and use this information for you basically. So this is how it all works. So for example, like as I was saying, qualitative data and quantitative data. Quantitative data is about numbers, so it can be discrete and continuous. What do we mean by discrete? Discrete just means that we have a different number of this thing. That is, when you talk about, here we grouped them, right? We continuous, we said 16 to 18 may, let's say, there are 10 people, 18 to 20 may there are 15 people. And for continuous, we would say, for continuous data we have, this is continuous. So for discrete we have, let's say, 16, 17. So you will classify for each. That is, for 16 if there are 5, for 17 there are 2, for 18 there are 3. So for even in the 16 to 18 you are bifurcating this. Even in the 16 to 18 you are bifurcating, which means you are talking about a discrete each and every observation. But in continuous you are grouping them, you are grouping every observation and then trying to find it, right? So this is the classification of data. And as I was saying, like, this data can also be analyzed with the help of graphs and all. So for example, if you are running a YouTube channel even, then you would be needing to know that how many sessions have been viewed in a particular month. So for April 2014, you can see the views were relatively higher than the other months. So then you would yourself analyze your content, that what were the videos or what choices of videos publishing was I publishing during the month of April, so that my viewers liked them and my views were increased. Which means, because you are now able to analyze this with the help of graphs, you would be shooting up more those videos and putting them on your channel, because more those views were basically viewed by the people, right? So that you can get monetary benefits out of it. So this is how it works, right? It's all about analysis and information. So first you collect those information and then you analyze based on that. So then we can classify the data into two important types, that is primary data and secondary data. So primary data is basically when an investigator, the one person who wants to analyze the data, he's collecting the data, he or she is collecting the data himself with a definite plan and objective. Then that data is called primary data, right? But the data which is not originally collected, rather obtained from published or unpublished sources, that is known as secondary data, right? So these two, for example, primary data is uh, like you all must have heard of census, right? So the BMC commissioner himself, uh, or the commissioner of the municipality, the concerned authority of the government, is himself or herself collecting the data, right? So census collected by the authority themselves. So that is like a primary data, whereas the secondary data could be data collected from an article, data collected from an article or a newspaper source, all right? Article of a newspaper. So these kinds of data are basically secondary data, right? So let's now talk about arrayed data. So the raw data which is kept in ascending or descending order of magnitude is called an array data. For example, you were observing the heights of a group of people in a locality, right? So you were observing heights in centimeters. Okay, and you got the heights were as 170 centimeter, 168, 172, 150, and 157, like this. So if you are now arranging this data in an ascending order or a descending order, for example, if you are arranging in an ascending order, so we would say the ascending order would be what? 150, 160, 157 first, 150, 157, then we have 168, 170, and 172. So this arrangement in the ascending or descending order, this is basically arranging the data. This is for this form of data will be called as arrayed data or just array, right? Because now you have arranged them, arrayed data. That's it. So we have talked about primary data, we have talked about secondary data, we have talked about arrayed data. Now we would be talking about grouped and ungrouped data. So ungrouped data is given as individual data points. For example, a teacher is noting down the test scores or the marks in a test of students in the class, right? And out of 100, so here we would have 88, 92, 76, and all of these different observations in a particular test scored by students, right? So on the basis of which the teacher can analyze that this is the what is the lowest marks the students have scored. So you would say that 43 is the lowest marks, whereas the highest marks you could see is 99 out of 100, right? So apart from this, this is called as ungrouped data, because you are not grouping any two test scores or any three test scores or any of the test scores. You are just keeping them just as you observed them. That's it, right? But when you talk about grouped data, for example, you are now noting down the weights of the same students in your class. So then you are observing that some students have 32, 33, 34. So you would say then now let's group it. That is between 31 to 35, let's say kgs, between 31 to 35 kgs there were 9 students. Between 36 to 40 kgs there were 5 students, and so on, right? So this sort of data, when you group the individuals into a particular class, that is when you are grouping a particular bunch of students into a class, that is, you said 9 students are between 31 to 35. So you said you're grouping basically the students into a 5 kg ka class intervals, 5 kg ka class intervals, right? So this data is called as grouped data. And you can see that there were total 38 students, and you have placed each and every student into a particular group. हर एक group में है. Now what is the disadvantage of collecting grouped data? Once you have collected the data in a grouped order, so you would not be able to know the entry of each and every student. That is, you would not be able to know the entry of particular student, that what is the exact weight of the particular student. That is, you know that 9 students are there. What do you know? That 9 students are there in the range 31 to 35, but you don't know exactly how many students have the weight as 33 kgs, 32 kgs, and so on, right? So this is the advantage of disadvantage of grouped data. Because ungrouped data you can directly uh, just look at it and observe, right? This is one thing. So but sometimes group data is also helpful, because it goes easier for calculations, and whenever you have to find average of a particular data and represent the entire data, the big data, in a single number, so that times the group data is usually helpful, right? So let's just look at this. So it says what kind of data is the height of students given below. Basically he's saying that if this is the height of students, these is the heights of students, these are the heights of students. So this is which data. Now you all can see there are so many entries, there are so many students. So and each of the student ka height is given differently. So this is basically your ungrouped data, right? This is your ungrouped data, because you are not grouping, you are separately noting down each and every observation, right? So in this case it gets a little lengthier, because every time you are observing each and every kind, writing it down. So it would have been better if you would have grouped in them in the 5 centimeters ka height. So this is ungrouped data. This is also called as raw data, कच्चा data. मतलब जैसा था वैसा का वैसा हमने लिख लिया, जो हाइट्स थी वैसी की वैसी एंट्री कर दी, उसको कुछ भी ऑर्गेनाइज नहीं किया, एरे नहीं किया, right? So this is just a raw data or ungrouped data, right? Yes. Now let's analyze this. What kind of data do you all think this is? Here the heights now are in the intervals 131 to 140, 141 to 150 and so on. So they are in intervals of 10 centimeters, which means in 10 centimeters in 131 to 140 there were just one student, in 141 to 150 there were seven students, in 151 to 160 there were five students and so on. Total there were 41 students. So we would definitely say that this is a grouped data, right? This is a grouped data. This is not a raw data, this is a grouped data, because you are grouping the students, right? Correct. The following data shows grouped data. So I hope you all understood the basics of statistics. What is data? Why is it important to study data? What are the various applications of data could be? How can we classify the data in different formats, and how to interpret what kind of data is this, right? So I hope you all had a fun session today and you are enjoying your learning from home during this pandemic. So till then, stay tuned that we will be coming up with the next lecture. It is in the lecture number 2 of statistics, right? So till then, stay safe, take care, thank you.